Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and we're coming up here in just a few moments. Delighted to have with us Bishop Harry Jackson Jr. He's the senior pastor of Hope Christian Church, a church of about 3,000 in congregation in the nation's capital. And we'll talk to him in coming up in just a few moments, in particular about, of course, the incident there in South Carolina, in Charleston. And we want to talk about how other churches and some churches are coming together and really trying to handle now this whole racial divide. And I want to say hats off to what they're calling the Reconciled Church. This was founded by Bishop Jackson and Bishop T.D. Jakes and James Robison. And it's a opportunity to bring together and to heal the racial divide in our country. So what an honor for us to have today, and I know that he's busy. We actually got him, I think he came from the pulpit right to the computer. So Bishop Jackson, are you there?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Oh, perfectly. Thank you, sir.
Okay, do I need to lift this up like that or do anything?
Well, you're looking good right there. You're looking good.
Perfect.
Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on Dove TV.
Well, listen, your thoughts on the terrible incident there in South Carolina?
Well, I think it proves that racism is still alive in America, and it's alive among the millennials. I used to think that when the millennials were going to be of age, that they wouldn't have the problems that we currently face. I thought that because interracial marriage is going forth and integrated church attendance is growing dramatically in cities like Washington, D.C., New York, L.A., etc., although it needs to increase around the nation, I thought that we were going to see a drop-off based on all the polls of racism in the next generation. But racism is taught. So my thoughts is that we have to celebrate the positive reaction of the great Black Christians in Charleston. I think it gives us great hope to overcome the history of race in America. But not only that, I'll close my opening salvo with this, that the problem that we have in America is that there's a conflagration, a blow up, an expansion of the fire of class, generational poverty, and race. We have people who don't feel like they have access to American dream. They feel hopeless in urban centers. And then if you add to that, you're in generational poverty, maybe you can't read, you don't have that kind of level of acumen and accomplishment, then you team with it, you're Black or Hispanic, you've got problems. So from the ghetto to the rural areas, there's a resurgence of race problems. But I believe the church can heal the racial divide by taking bridges to peace, which the Reconciled Church movement is talking about. We can heal the racial divide on our watch.
Well, I have to say, Bishop, beautifully said, by the way. The other thing is what the church in South Carolina did with the community and those who were trying to exercise this into a big race issue. The church handled this extremely well, and that whole thing just got put out. I mean, to me, that is a very healthy sign.
Yes, it is. We need to just expand on Charleston, and we don't need blaming right now. I think one of the things that my white friends suffer from at this particular point is guilt projection. We have a certain history in America, and along the line of race, I would call it America's original sin. But we have an opportunity, this generation of whites, whether you're young or old, along with Blacks, brown, and Asian believers especially, we have an opportunity to heal the racial divide. And I don't think that anybody listening to your broadcast today who doesn't happen to be Black should feel blamed. But I want to challenge them to come alongside of me. Let's work together. That's what the Reconciled Church is about, to say, let's make God's dream. It was also Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. It's really the American dream. This land will be a land of opportunity for all people and of freedom, a place of freedom to express our religious beliefs in and under the banner of Christ. Let's let that be the America we strive to produce. I think we can do it.
All right, the Reconciled Church, now you and Bishop Jakes and James Robison have put this together. How's it going? How do people become a part of this?
Well, go to our website, thereconciledchurch.org, and sign the covenant there. We have a covenant of peace, a covenant of reconciliation, and then send in your contact information, and we'll get in touch with you. But you can look there and see best practices. What we're doing is we have 7 conceptual bridges to peace, several spheres that will bring healing to the poverty class and race conundrum in America. And we're simply saying, if you see something there you like, identify with it, we'll get your coach. Then there are people that we want to, quote, franchise or empower to hold their own local meetings of reconciliation. So get involved by going to the website, get involved by following us on Twitter, get involved, and the Twitter handle is @thereconciled, and you can follow us, get with us, work with us, and I'll answer any other specific questions, but that's where to start.
All right, the tragic incident in South Carolina also, now it's ended up being an incredible example of how to really handle these things. There's no question about it. The shooter had intentions of creating a race riot, and the church and the community said, no, not on our property, not on our watch. Boy, that's a healthy sign.
It is. And I think the same thing happened, many don't know, in Sanford, Florida. I was involved over 2 years ago there, and we brought together 65 church leaders. It's an untold story, and they said not on our watch, and therefore there was no rioting or violence in Sanford, Florida after the announcement, even though there were national people who wanted to come alongside and create a stir. There was no stir because the church decided we're going to go to our pulpits, we're going to preach peace and reconciliation, and then we're going to start healing the racial divide. And they've got youth programs, after school programs, college preparation programs, entrepreneurial programs that they're working on right now in Sanford. And I'm going to recommend that the same type of things be done in Baltimore. We're working on that, Ferguson, Staten Island, and beyond.
All right, Pastor, let me squeeze your pastor's heart for a moment, and that is the answer to this is the gospel.
Yes.
And we can do away with racism by going to one race that's called the human race under the banner of Christ. Do you think pastors can see this?
I think pastors can see it. Some can even say it, but fewer are willing to strategize around it and take positive action. So I believe pastors can see it. They need to also say it, as in from their pulpits, in their blogs, etc. And then they need to strategize. This is why we have best practices up at our website in order to make a difference and say, hey, what you're thinking about doing, somebody else has already done. Come join us in the work of healing America on our watch.
Your thoughts on the whole Confederate flag issue?
Well, my thought is I agree with Russell Moore. I almost said Russell Simmons. That would be the wrong Russell. I agree with Russell Moore, the Southern Baptist Convention, that as Christians, we want to take a symbol like that down. I'm a big First Amendment freedom person. I want freedom at almost any cost. But I think the Confederate flag, as we look at it, really is not a right symbol. In fact, it wasn't even a symbol in the Confederacy. That was really a banner that was taken into battle by Northern Virginia Confederates. It was never the official flag of the Confederacy. So it belongs in a museum, and it doesn't need to be flown. in a time of racial tension in which many people feel like they're oppressed and feel like they're being put upon. Now, memory of the ancient Selma days and the Birmingham bombings are coming back to people. And so that's why I'm against the use of the Confederate flag. And I'd say in your personal world, carry whatever you want to, but don't use public money to create trauma in the lives of a large number of your citizenship.
Well, Bishop, you're an inspiration. Thank you, my friend. Two websites, I guess. Yours is thehopeconnection.org. And then what about the Reconciled Church? Where do they go?
They go to the reconciledchurch.org, and there they'll find all these best practices, and they'll hear from people like Bishop T.D. Jakes, Miles McPherson, A.R. Bernard. You'll also hear a lot of great things. People partnering with us, I'll say this as we close, are people like Robert Morris of Gateway Church. We're getting Jack Graham from Prestonwood Baptist involved. He's got a great personal testimony. We hope to we have over 1,000 of these grass tops leaders, major Christian leaders, who are involved in the movement thus far, and we hope to have a grassroots movement beginning real soon.
Well, thank you. We'll have the Dove take a look at it as well for the Dove Television and Radio Network.
Well, thank you very much. And there are great pieces being put out right now in the Washington Post, USA Today, on this movement that are also posted at our website that your people need to hear.
All right. Bishop, thank you. You're an inspiration, my friend. Keep up the good work. Our prayers are with you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and keep up your good work as well, my friend.
All right, God bless you. All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Welcome back. Well, this discussion continues. Delighted to have back with us today Josh Bernstein. He is the spokesman for the Association of Matured American Citizens. The AMAC.us is the website. And believe me, that's the one to join, not AARP. You want to join AMAC.us. He's a talk show host. He writes, he strategizes, and he's here to talk to us about the Confederate flag controversy. Hi, Josh. Good to see you again, friend.
It's great to be back with you.
Thank you, thank you. Well, listen, I just had Bishop Jackson on. He's kind of happy that the flag's coming down, and you think it ought to stay up. Let's talk about that. What do you think the Confederate flag symbolizes?
Well, before we get into that, I do want to say that my thoughts and prayers do go out to the victims of this horrific shooting in South Carolina. This is really a terrible tragedy. It's, by one person, individual, who obviously hated blacks and took it out on them. And I think that he was a crazy person. And really, I think that the people of South Carolina have shown amazing resolve, amazing forgiveness, and just really great hearts to even be able to have it inside them to forgive someone who has done so much damage to the community. As far as the flag is concerned, look, it has a very long and complicated, history. Dating all the way back from 1861 to 1865. The flag has seen numerous changes, from the stars and bars to then, switching to the stainless banner, and then to the blood-soaked banner and/or what's known now as the rebel flag or the Confederate flag. But look, starting out, the flag was a symbol of Southern heritage. It was a symbol of, the Southern pride to fight in the war against, the North. And what's interesting is it changed so many times because of the fact that it was too similar to the regular American flag, and it was confusing the soldiers. So then they changed it again, and they changed it to a white background, and the white background was then looked upon as it's too much of a surrender or call for truce, especially on naval ships. Then it changed to the last way that it looks now with the cross and the rebel flag. What's interesting about it is that its initial intention was not necessarily to become a racist flag. It was more for Southern pride, Southern heritage, independence, and even today, that flag is used as a symbol against government tyranny and for state rights. As a matter of fact, in 1989, at the Berlin Wall, they flew the Confederate flag to show against the tyranny of government. So that's one thing. I think where it's gone crazy and gone wrong is the fact that Southern Democrats then hijacked it after the war and have used it since as a symbol for racism and hatred. And look, the Ku Klux Klan has used this flag numerous times. This kid, Dylan Roof, who went out there and did what he did, look, this was not a conservative. This was not a patriot. And the media is running around saying that this kid was a Tea Party patriot and he was conservative. He was not. He was burning the flag. He was stepping on the flag. He hated blacks, according to his manifesto. He hated Jews, according to the manifesto. So again, this is somebody who was an old throwback to the KKK and the old Southern Democratic Party. And I think that people need to understand that. So essentially, this is not a Republican issue. This is a Democrat Party issue. Because if we all know and we look at history, when the flag was first put up there in 1962, it was done by a Democratic governor named Fritz Hollins. It was actually taken down in 1998 by a Republican governor, David Beasley. So I think we've got to look at the history of this flag and realize that its intentions, at least in the beginning, were not necessarily an evil intention. It was more for state rights and Southern pride in the Civil War.
All right. You gave a great history, and I appreciate that. One of the questions that come out of this, you're not saying that the flag should be revered as Stars and Stripes or that of the state flag, are you?
Well, here's what I'm saying. I mean, look, this is a flag that has been for Christian heritage, for individualism, for self-reliance, for state rights, for against the government tyranny in this case. And what's interesting about this is what if, here's a scenario, what if this kid, Dylan Roof, had a picture of, God forbid, the American flag on his car, or he was burning the American flag? I mean, when is it going to stop? Okay, now that we've gotten rid of the Confederate flag and everybody's gone crazy with this and they all want to remove the Confederate flag from, all walks of life as if it never existed, what's next? I mean, in 10, 15 years, are we going to see the American flag? Because we already know that the hard left likes to blame American exceptionalism, American superiority, and they look at all the world's problems and they blame America for it. So who's to say that as more immigrants come into the country and as the dynamics and the demography of the country changes, that at some point they would say, well, the American flag is representative of American might and power and American exceptionalism, and that makes other people that are coming here feel bad. So now we have to ban the American flag too. Look, where does it end and where does it stop? I'm not for banning this.
And Rush Limbaugh is saying that, and I get that, and I think it's a real possibility. I mean, the slippery slope here is that if the Confederate flag goes, but I'm just looking at, all right, the Confederate flag certainly represents an incredible time in our history, and should be respectful of that. But should it be revered equal with the Stars and Stripes or that of a state flag?
Well, again, that's a question I think for the states to figure out for themselves. Look, I'm originally from the Northeast, so I'm a northerner, if you will. But I look at the flag and I say, this is a precedent to then banning more things. And I believe it's more about control and eliminating free speech than it is about a flag. Okay, because I do believe that if this kid had any other type of flag, we'd be talking about that flag instead. Now, I know it's controversial, and I understand that the flag has been there for a long time, but I also look at the history of this flag, and the history of this flag points to Southern Democrats. So to me, it's absolutely mind-boggling that Black Americans still vote overwhelmingly for the Democrat Party when they were part of, wanting to keep slavery, They were part of the Jim Crow laws. I mean, the Republican Party was founded on the anti-slavery platform, for goodness sakes. So it just amazes me how history has been twisted and revised by Northeast liberals that run the media, academia, and everything else.
I think you make a good point. Now, are you surprised that NASCAR is saying, "Yep, we won't fly it either"?
Am I surprised? No, I'm really not. I mean, we you know, look, the two worst words we've ever heard in the American language, certainly in the 20th and 21st century, are the words political correctness. And I believe that political correctness, you know, is the power trip that it has presented itself to be, to curb rights, liberty, freedoms, freedom of speech, the First Amendment, so on and so forth. So am I surprised that this country is moving to this direction? It just goes to show you that the left is winning the culture war in this country.
Your thoughts on how the community, the faith community, and the state responded to this horrible incident? It seems to be they're saying no riots on our watch and on our turf.
You know, it amazes me that if you look at the difference between, for instance, Ferguson and Baltimore, you know, there was riots, they were burning police cars, they were, you know, burning down CVS's, they were doing all kinds of things. And what you're seeing in the South is none of that. And I think that's what's interesting about that is they've had some peaceful you know, protests and rallies and things like that, but you're not hearing about, you know, the destruction and the mayhem going on. And I think one of the reasons for that is that there are a lot more religious folks down south, certainly more than I would say even in the Northeast. And I think that there's a lot of, you know, self-pride. And I think the fact that they can forgive this person, this absolute monster who did this, just goes to show you the heart and soul of Dixie and in the South.
Wow. So, Josh, what do you think the South Carolina legislature is going to do? Because they need a supermajority in the House and the Senate to pull this off. What's the flavor? What do you think is going to happen?
I think the flavor is the fact that maybe after a couple of days, weeks, whatever, of calming down, letting this incident kind of pass, maybe it'll settle back, but I don't think so. I think this time it's a little bit different. There's already been reports that the majority of the Senate in South Carolina and the House of Representatives are in favor of taking it down away from the Capitol altogether. So I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say that political pressure, political, you know, correctness and the tragedy of what happened, I think, is going to be too much for the South Carolina legislation to actually hold this, hold above this, and you know, and keep the flag flying. So, in my prediction, unfortunately, I think it'll probably be taken down.
Now, this is not to say you can't fly a Confederate flag as an individual or display it. It's just over the State House. I mean, granted, it's a huge move, and it does open Pandora's box, but it's not a slap against First Amendment.
Right. Well, here, what's amazing to me is that I believe that this incident in particular is going to be used against Republican candidates. They're already showing that it is, because they have already been asked questions about it. And I think that they need to get out in front of this, and the media needs to go out there, and I know they would never do it because they don't want to tell the truth, but they need to go out there and say that, look, this flag and what it has represented for so long post the Civil War, when it took on a new meaning, was based on Southern Democrats, and the fact that the person who put it up there in 1962, Fritz Holland, was a Democrat. You know, look, Hillary Clinton can run around all she wants and say that she's against it and she wants it taken down, but when she was in Arkansas with Bill Clinton, they supported it. So again, it's the liberal hypocrisy that's out there, and I think that that needs to be exposed, because if it's not, then, you know, we're going to lose this battle. And I can see every single wedge issue question coming at these Republican candidates, especially in the debates. I would almost assume the first question would be a wedge issue as such.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you, Josh. People want to get a hold of you. Where do they get your website?
You can go to joshbernsteinpoliticalwriter.com or just Google Josh Bernstein radio talk show host. And again, I'm a proud spokesman for the wonderful folks at AMAC.US, the Association for Mature American Citizens.
Yeah, and that's the one to join, folks, not AARP. Thanks, buddy. Good to see you again. We'll have you back soon.
Anytime.
All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Hey, welcome back, and what a delight to have our buddy back with us, Dr. Paul Kreitz, and he writes books, he preaches, he teaches, he starts universities, he teaches at universities, he leaps tall buildings, outruns locomotives, and he's on the move, literally. But he has a clean shirt on. That means he probably found his washer and dryer in the moving van somewhere, right?
We're settled. We are settled in. Life is good, and I'm excited about the future. I'm telling you, if you ever lose hope, you're in trouble. And I'm very hopeful today. I'm very excited, and it all comes from finding a word from the Lord, holding on to that word despite all the circumstances. And I tell people all the time, Perry, and first of all, it's a delight to be with you, but I tell people all the time, there's a miracle in your mouth. What you talk about, you bring about. It's very important to keep speaking faith words and keep speaking, believing. And it's not just mind, your mind over matter or some Scientology. It's a biblically based theology that you've just got to keep speaking the word of God over your circumstance. And today we're in chapter 10 of my book. And Perry, I've got a big announcement to share with you. Do you know that we have already started into our second printing of this book? And I've made a few modifications, and the book's a little bit bigger. And everyone ordering the book today and in the future are going to be getting the next printing, the next edition. Isn't that amazing how this book is flying off the shelf?
Wow. All right, you can go to Paul Kreitz or drpaulkreitz.com and order the book. I have to tell you, Paul, I was in another business last week, and there was your book sitting right underneath the guy's computer screen. So I don't know who's ordering it, but it's a small book. It's a great resource. It's called Money Matters. We've been going through this. There's a picture up there on the screen, The Truth About Money, the one is telling you about. It's a practical manual. And what it's going to do is this. It's going to adjust your thinking in a biblical way. Why did Jesus talk so much about it, and why we don't talk so much about it, and yet in between all that there's been a lot of abuses? Well, what Paul has done here, he's taken scripture and common sense and put them together as a manual for you in managing your money. Today we're dealing with chapter 10, the 10 laws of financial empowerment, and we got into this a little bit last time. He did talk about law number 1, the law of location, the law of association, the law of seeing and seizing, and today we want to get into the law of order. So I don't know if you want to do a quick recap or just start right there with number 4, the law of order.
Let me just wrap up the law of seeing and seizing. What stays in your mind comes to you in time. Now that sounds like a cute little phrase, but the Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. And there are folks that are listening to me that have been, well, and quite honestly, very disappointed in your financial state of life. And you see everybody else prospering, you see everyone else moving forward, and it doesn't happen. And after a while, it's like a groove that's created in your mindset. Well, it's just not going to happen. We're just not going to overcome. We're not going to get our bills paid. I'm never going to have my own house. I'm never going to live without a car payment. And I've come by to tell you today that it's important for you to seize what is being spoken inside your ears right now. Perry, I tell in this chapter, and this is a great book. If it's worth just getting this one little point out of chapter 10, it's important. I used to teach all the time about speaking by faith and living by faith. And I never noticed my little boys who were at that time 2, 3, 4 years of age, sitting on the front row, And they came to me one day, Perry, and they said, we want a dog. And I said, boys, we just can't have a dog right now. It's just too much responsibility. You get a little bit older. And I said, we have nowhere for the dog to live. We have nothing for the dog to, we're just not prepared. One Saturday morning, I heard hammering and talking in the garage real early. I got up, put on my robe, I walked down, and I looked out into the garage, and there were my little boys hammering nails and putting boards together. And I said, boys, what are you doing? And they said, Daddy, we're building a doghouse. I said, building a doghouse? We don't have a dog. And my son Justin looked at me and said, not yet.
Hey, you had to eat your own words there, Dad.
Well, I'm telling you, it hit me like a ton of bricks. My children, who are now, those little boys now are 31 and 30 and doing incredible things in life with their wives and families. My third son has just finished up his PhD. I didn't grow up in a family that had doctorates and PhDs. I didn't grow up in a family that like that. But God has changed things in my generation, and it all comes from this law of seeing and seizing, which takes us into the fourth law, the law of order. And I want to tell you, as you're listening to me today, disorder is more destructive in your life than people are telling you. That's why I said the title of this book is The Truth About Money That No One's Telling You. Disorder is very destructive. And watch this now. Order will bring into your life or produce into your life what creativity cannot. Thank God for creative people. I love to be around creative people. But if you'll begin to walk in order and begin to put your finances in order, it's extremely important that as you read this, I tell the story that years ago, the IRS gave me a little love letter and said, we're going to audit the last couple of years. Most people have a fear that goes down their spine. I didn't have a fear because I knew there was order in my records. So I brought coffee and donuts to the first meeting. We met at the local bank in their conference room. I brought coffee and donuts. I sat down with the man. I said, here's all my records. Go through everything. I have nothing to hide. I'm not concerned. And Perry, when it was all done, you know what happened? The government owed me money.
Wow.
They owed me money. And so, Oprah Winfrey, who is a billionaire, millionaire, media tycoon, she does not let one person sign the checks that go out of her company except for herself. She keeps her finances. You might think, man, that's incredible. But one of the secrets she learned in life is to keep order in your finances. And that brings me to the fifth law, which is the law of focus and vision. The law of focus and vision. Someone listening to us right now, watching us, needs to hear this, that what you look at the longest becomes the strongest. I want you to hear that. What you look at the longest becomes the strongest in your life. If you're focused on failure, failure only increases. You're focused on your debt increases. But when you begin to focus on financial principles of increase, and you begin to change the way you think, you see, I wrote here in the book, sight you see with your eyes, but vision, now watch this, Perry, vision's what you see in your spirit. It's what you see in your spirit. How did we go back to the Old Testament and a man named Abram, and God said, get up and get your family, and I want you to go to a land that you've never seen. He didn't have a GPS system, didn't have a map. The question is, how did he know? How did he know that he arrived at the right place? How did he know when he came over the hill, when he walked down through the valley, he looked at the land, that he knew this was the place he was supposed to be? And the answer is very simple. The picture on the outside matched what he saw in his spirit on the inside. Someone's listening to me today. You're watching this today. This is very important. God puts pictures. God speaks, the Bible says, through visions and dreams. God puts pictures on the inside of us. There's things that you know. There's things that you know not to do, There's things you know not that you should do. The law of seeing and seizing, the law of focus and vision. You've got to stay focused on the right things. It's so easy. Perry, you know this today. It's so easy to get distracted with all the bombardment, the advertising, and people make wrong decisions out of their soulish realm or out of their emotional realm. They see this ad and I need to buy that. No, you didn't need to get that. You just put yourself further in debt. You've got to be led. The Bible says those that are led by the Spirit of God. Isn't this good today, Perry?
It's wonderful.
Focus where focus goes. Let me give you one more quote before we get close to the break. Where focus goes, money flows and results show. I want to say that again. Where focus goes, money flows and results show. As a leader of this ministry, this multimedia TV radio ministry, you've got the greatest task you have is not finding the right people, though that's important. It's not having the right it's not having the right management team in, though that's important. Having the creative people, that's important. But the greatest task you have is to stay focused like a laser beam on the vision that God has called you. And it's evident to everybody watching, everyone listening, that you've stayed focused on this because the blessing of God comes in. Remember, not too many months ago, you were moving to your new facility. All of a sudden, unexpected things came up. This costs more than you thought. But as you remain focused, money flowed, and what's happened? Results show.
Well said. Paul Kreitz, Dr. Paul Kreitz. You can go to paulkreitz.com, order this book. It's called Money Matters, The Truth About Money That No One Is Telling You. It's a manual, actually. There's a picture of it there on the screen. When we come back, we're going to finish up Chapter 10 and 4 more laws: the law of personal responsibility, the law of personal worth, the law of personal investment. These are principles, and we'll be right back with Dr. Kreitz in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Hey, welcome back, and always a delight to have with us Dr. Paul Kreitz, and we're going through his book chapter by chapter called Money Matters, The Truth About Money That No One Is Telling You. And people who are now getting this book, and friends that I know that have picked it up, and I see it in businesses around town, have come to realize that it's a manual, and basically it's an attitude adjuster. That's basically what it is. And you could probably read this in one night. You're not going to do that. You're going to read it and reread it, and you're going to come back to it, and you're going to begin to assimilate these principles into your own mind and thinking. And it's just good stuff. And you can go to paulkreitz.com and get it, and Paul will send it to you, and he'll even pay the shipping. All you got to do is pay for the book, and he'll pay for the shipping. Paul, before we get into the closing part of this real quick, give people an update of university, because you've moved from Nashville down to Florida. God's put it on your heart to move your entire operation and everything there. You're getting ready now to start this. Well, you've had the university, but you're relocating it. Tell us about it.
Well, it's called New Covenant University, and the Lord spoke to us to relocate to Northeast Florida. So I'm in the Jacksonville, the greater Jacksonville. When you say greater, Jacksonville is one of the largest cities geographically in the United States. And so I'm in the south part, right on the Duval County, St. Johns County line. I'm living in a home in St. Johns County. And not only, Perry, are we starting New Covenant University, but we're getting ready to also birth with the university New Covenant Cathedral, a church that we're going to have alongside. And this is not going to be like any other church. God's put it in my spirit for it to actually be a streaming church where we'll have a congregation / studio audience, and I'll be teaching. And so we're going to have a church that goes around the world, and people will be able to watch and look in, and that's going to help give us birth to our online school. It's going to be incredible. I just really know in my spirit. I'm traveling to the state capitol tomorrow, to Tallahassee, to get some more documents put together and presented to them. But everything has been smooth sailing. Thank you for asking. And people can go to newcovenantedu.net. Or ncuonline.net is a better website. ncuonline.net is our website for the university.
All right, let's get back to law number 6 here in chapter 10, the law of personal responsibility. This kind of goes with number 4, the law of order.
Yeah. There is an expiration date on your past. You got to quit complaining. You got to quit playing the blame game. All you're doing when you look to your past and say, blame my mama, blame my daddy, blame this, blame the guy I used to work for, these people that ripped me off, all you're doing is creating roadblocks to your success. All you're talking about in the past is not going to change your future. You are responsible for your present. You've got to take personal responsibility. This is one of the great awakenings in my life. I actually thought that people cared, and I discovered that believing that people care is the first sign of insanity.
Oh, that fits so well in so many situations. I got to remember that one. Yeah, go ahead.
You just got to let that sink in, because you actually believe that person that's selling you that automobile on a 70-some month agreement actually is helping you or caring about you. But when you go look at the paperwork, you're going to discover you've been paying almost twice the amount for that automobile. And once you pull off the parking lot, you're long gone out of the memory. You need to realize you've got to take personal responsibility. That's why you don't need to buy a new car. You need to buy maybe a good used car that you can build up your income and then begin to pay cash for your next automobile. Take personal responsibility. Number seven in this chapter 10, and again, I've had professional speakers and trainers tell me chapter 10 is worth the entire book. That if you didn't read any other chapter, just read these 10 laws to financial increase. And again, as Perry has so well put it, you can just go to the website at paulkreitz.com, and I'll pay the shipping here in the United States. Now, if you live in Nigeria or somewhere, I'm not going to pay the shipping. You'll have to come over here or get a post office box. But law number 7, the law of personal worth. No one can determine your worth. Only you have to believe how valuable you are, which all goes to your personal self-image. Now, image is very important. Someone listening to me today, you need to hear this. Why is image important? It's the very first thing that the enemy attacked in the garden. God made us in his image. And the very first thing came alongside to Eve and to Adam. The enemy began to attack who they thought they were, what they perceived themselves to be. You can be like God. He began to attack their belief system and their image. When they fell, the Bible says Adam hid from the voice of God. God went walking through the cool of the day. You remember the story, Perry, and said, Adam, where are you? And Adam hid himself. And here's what he said, I'm naked. The glory of God had left him. And he said, I'm naked. And here's what God said. Read it. It's so valuable. God said, who told you that? Who told you that? Listen, and listen very clearly. Whose voice are you listening to today? It is helping and making and creating your personal image. And your personal image comes to your personal worth. I'm going to tell you a personal story, and I don't know how far we'll get today, but I really feel led, Perry, by the Spirit to tell you. I grew up in rough conditions. I had family members and relatives, I won't mention who they are, who told me I would not amount to anything. They would scold me as a little boy. They would laugh at me. When I couldn't do what they wanted me to do just like that, they would call me names. It began to grip my mind, and when trouble came and disappointment came, I shrugged my shoulders and said, of course, that's who people say I am. But Perry, one day I got born again. One day something happened on the inside of me that changed my life forever. One day I went to a baptism, and when I went down in the water and came up, I came up a new creation, a new person in Christ Jesus, and my thinking began to change. You may not like what I'm going to say, but I learned very quickly. I was engrafted, and I had an elder brother, and his name was Jesus. And I had royal blood running through my life. My self-image began to change. I began to believe where I had believed before in my self-worth. I was nothing. I was worthless. I began to believe that I could do something. And you know, Perry, I went on not to brag, but to brag on Jesus. I got my college degrees. I got my master's degree. I went on and got my doctorate in ministry and theology, and then I went on to get a PhD. I'm telling you, I never dreamed I could go to college, and today I lead a university. I'm telling you, that ought to make somebody shout today, because if God can do it for Paul Kreitz, he can do it for you. Please hear me well. He can do it for you.
Inspiring, my friend. That's wonderful. Yeah, we only got about 2.5 minutes. You want to tackle number 8?
Can we save it for next time?
Yeah.
Can we do 8 and 10 next time?
Yeah, let's do that. And what we'll do is the law of personal investment. And again, let me just say, you can tell that Paul's anointed and excited, and there's a lot of reasons for it. And he's taken a lot of his personal experiences, and he's come out of the bullying stage of being bullied to being royalty. And the book is part of that. And it's just a tool. It's just a resource. That's all it is. It's a guide. It's an attitude adjuster. So you may want to go to paulkreitz.com, order the book, and now you're saying you're going to send them the new one, the new up version, huh?
I'm going to send you a copy in the next 3 days, a new one. I'll send an extra one to your producer, and maybe one to send around the engineering department if those guys are back there paying attention. And because they usually do. I always hear good comments when I come on board. They say, we really like what you say, Dr. Kreitz, and that excites me. But what excites me more today is that someone's driving down the road, someone's turned on the TV this morning, and maybe you've been discouraged. Maybe you're getting near the end of the month and you've got more month than you've got money left. I understand that. But God can turn it around. But I can't change. God can't change what's in your hand. Now watch this. He can't change what's in your hand till he changes what's in your head. You've got to change the way you think. And your thinking has to be renewed. And God inspires men and women of God to write books and materials. You say, oh, I've read lots of books. Well, you need to read one more. I'm not just trying to sell my book. Please believe me. I'm trying to get a tool in your hand. If I could get this book to you for free, I would do it. But it costs money to write a book and publish it and print it. But I'll mail it to you. Go to the website, paulkreitz.com. And let's see what God will do in your life. I encourage you to read this book. Mark your calendar over the next 31 days. And as Perry said, you'll go back and read it again and see what God begins to do, because I want to see God move in your life. Get you out of debt. Begin to walk in the blessing of the Lord, because God said you're the head and not the tail.
Beautiful. You're an inspiration, my friend. God bless you. I'm glad you're getting settled down there, and future looks bright and happy, and so do you. So our best to you and Angel and the team, and look forward to getting together and finishing this chapter up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
God bless you. All right. Again, go to paulkreitz.com. paulkreitz.com. Order the book. He'll pay the shipping to get it to you. And I think believe me, you won't be disappointed. Get this in your library. Get it into your life. Get it into your head. We'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.